Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Marketing Guides for Small Businesses podcast. I'm Ken Tucker of Changescape Web, and I'm joined by Paul Barthel of Changescape Web, and also today Ian Cantle live from Outsourced Marketing. And Jen Kelly is going to join us via video today. So we're looking forward to that. So today, we're going to talk about a topic that I think is so confusing to so many businesses. There's so much crap out there. They're inundated with unsolicited emails saying, we can get you on the first page of Google. We can do it for $150 a month. We can do a one-time fee. We can do this. We can do that. So, I thought it would be good for us to kind of talk about some of the common SEO myths that are out there so that our listeners and viewers can maybe help get educated a little bit more on understanding what SEO is and trying to really dispel some of the myths, really just to arm you guys to help you make better decisions when you're investing in SEO, because we all believe search engine optimization, or SEO, is critical for almost every business that wants to grow and be found online. So with that, I am going to start out with Paul. Paul, let's start with this myth. Businesses don't need SEO because their Google My Business profiles enough. Is that fact or fiction? And can you kind of elaborate on why?
That's a pure fiction because all you have to do is look at the recent debacle with the Google business profiles, and the profiles got suspended. They made major changes, and it took 3-4 weeks to get it reinstated because so many of these Google business profiles got suspended for absolutely no reason. Some businesses didn't even make any changes to their business profile and they got suspended. And if you're depending on that and your business profile gets suspended for 3 weeks, and we saw with a couple of our clients, they took a major hit in their business in phone calls. So SEO, obviously search engine optimization, is the process of optimizing your website and your content for search engines to be able to crawl your website, understand what your business is about. And there's a couple different things. There's what's called on-page SEO, which is optimizing your website and your content. There's off-page SEO, which, we'll call those directories, which also needs to be optimized because over time, these directories, they crawl the website, they, you know, gather information, and your website, if you've been in business for a long time, you could have had different addresses, different phone numbers, and all this content or all this information, a lot of it can be wrong. And that sends a signal to Google that Google isn't sure what's correct, which address is correct, what phone number is correct. So that needs to be optimized. Then there's technical SEO, which is things like structured data that needs to be done. So all these things need your directories, your website, your Google business profile. Your address needs to be the same. Your phone number needs to be the same. So yes, you absolutely do need SEO, but it is a long-term play. And if you wait until your business isn't showing up on search the way you want it to, and you wait until your rankings start to tank, well, it can take 6-7 months for SEO to become effective. And a lot of times people they'll call a marketing agency and say, hey, I need my rankings have really started to go down and I need SEO. It's like, well, you should have done that 9 months ago. So yes, you do need SEO. Google My Business or Google Business Profile is not enough because you don't control that. Google controls that, and that's one thing to remember. I know Ken has talked about this a lot in the past, that the only online property you own is your website. You don't own Google Business Profile. And the other thing, it's free. So Google doesn't put a lot of resources into that because they're not making money, which I don't understand why they don't have a paid version of that. They should. But if you don't control it, you shouldn't depend on that one source. So that's my feelings on that.
Yeah. So just to kind of touch base though on a couple of things that you talked about, you talked a lot about SEO and why it's important. I mean, SEO is also, there's a symbiotic relationship between the SEO efforts that you put onto your website and how that is going to help elevate your Google My Business profile as well, right?
Oh yeah, it definitely will. Especially if your business information is consistent across the web, which goes back to the directories. And you know, there's ways marketing agencies can help you with that. But yes, if your business profile, I didn't want to go too deep into the weeds here, but there's also interlinking that can be done between Google Business Profile posts and your website, which sends ranking factors to Google. But yes, they do help. They do work together.
Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, we can go super deep into the whole Google Business Profile website SEO integration strategies, and maybe we'll do that here in an upcoming episode. I did want to get to some of the other common myths. So don't just rely on your Google Business Profile because it could be taken away. Google can mess with the algorithms. You don't control it. You may not even have access to it, as we've seen, as Paul mentioned. So with Jen, I wanted to know from Jen, what her thoughts are about another common myth, and that is SEO is a one-time thing. So with that, I'm going to play Jen's response to that.
A common myth, SEO is a one-time thing. That is a myth. Some of us wish it was true, though, because SEO is a lot of work for sure. So it's a myth because SEO, search engine optimization, it just is an ongoing process. And it's because as you enter into a market for your product or your service, it's a living thing, meaning that the market is living and changing, and there's competition, and there's different competitors, and folks are coming in and going out of business and having sales and changing the market for your product or service, no matter what it is that you sell. So that's an ongoing, lively thing that's happening. The companies that set the rules, the search engines, so let's just talk about Google, they're constantly changing the rules as well. And so you're entering into a dynamic market here, and things are changing. So that's the reason for it. The way to get around that is to, first of all, understand that when you're going out to do SEO and making it part of your marketing strategy, and really taking the time to research what are the words, what are the phrases that are most applicable to your business and most able to have your business win in either the region, the industry, the area that you want to win in. And it's a consistent thing that you have to do. So it's consistently producing content that is properly set up to be SEO'd. And it's not only about the content that you're putting out there. So it's not only about having the keywords in the blog or the article or whatnot. You can't forget the back end. So the metadata and making sure that's all set up correctly as well. So unfortunately, that myth is wrong. SEO is not a one-time thing.
Yeah, it's so frustrating to me because I think too many people think, oh, well, I'll just have a new website built and, I'm paying a company to do SEO and they're just paying them literally to build a website, maybe host it, and they think they're all good. And the reality is, you know, uh, maybe it is good. I mean, maybe it was enough. Probably not. It's really, really rare when that happens. But even if it was, your competitors are going to come along. They're going to make investments. They're going to do things to try to leapfrog you to show up higher in the search results. As Jen mentioned, the search engines are going to change the algorithms. They're going to change the rules from time to time, and you just need to keep after it. And it's a constant thing. And I know you and Paul and I talk about, this stuff a lot. So I want to get into a topic, Ian, that I know you and I periodically disagree a little bit on. I mean, I'm always going to say local SEO is critically important. I think it just ultimately comes down to what fits within the budget of a business. But I want to hear your thoughts on what is your response when you hear somebody say local SEO is just not worth it or it's just too expensive?
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, I would say I disagree 100% with that statement. Yes, there are circumstances where budgets might not allow for it, and that's certainly part of the equation that we all as business people have to figure out, right? But could it be effective for a business that doesn't have the budget? Absolutely. There is no business that would not benefit from ranking higher on Google or on maps or anywhere where people are searching for their product, their service, their food, their you name it, right? So is it worth it? Absolutely. The reason why it's worth it, and we kind of have orbited this thought, but we haven't really faced it head on, is why is SEO worth it? And the reason SEO is worth it is because that's people's behavior. The only reason Google is so successful as a search engine is because people search. And the only reason why Google is the search engine of choice is because Google offers up really great search results, right? That's what they thrive on, whether it's organic search results or paid search results. That is the core of their search business. So I think it's really important to understand, as a business, would you look at the universe of what you're able to attract as far as customers and just lop off 70% of it? No, like, it's ridiculous to even think that, except that's what people do because they have preconceptions of, oh, SEO doesn't work. Somebody tried, Bob tried it. It didn't work for him. He put money in. The people screwed him, whatever, right? And unfortunately, that does happen. You need to be very choosy about who you work with in SEO. And some of the things that you guys talked about and what Jen talked about too is that SEO is not a one-time thing, but it permeates through everything you do online as a business. Like it in fact, it can be a source of feeding the engine of the marketing and the customer acquisition and retention that you do. So and the reason why that's true is because Google is looking for behavior. So the Google algorithm is constantly changing, meaning if a new website pops up and it has relevant information, Google will feed that out. It will see what people do once they go to that website. First of all, is the website real or is it a broken link? Do they go there? How long do they spend on it? Do they look at multiple pages? Do they convert, meaning do they click on a form or a call button? All of that kind of stuff. So it's very sophisticated from a back end, but from a front end, if you're as a business doing the right things in order to attract and nurture prospective customers and patients, whatever it is, or whoever they are, and then you're doing the right things to engage and retain those people, right? You're going to do well in SEO with the right help. So I think it's just kind of a paradigm shift that some business owners need to make, is that, you know, we might already have content that could be highly leveraged to help us show up on search engines, but we're not leveraging it properly. Or we need new content or better content, because, you know, the internet and people in general, remember, it's the people that Google is catering to. People in general want the most up-to-date, the most thorough, and the most valuable information. And that's what Google's trying to curate to those people through search engines.
Yeah. Yeah, I came across a statistic from, I think it was from Moz, was the ultimate source, about search, you know, and what's happening in the world of search. And Google owns the top 3 searched properties, and
Yep.
it accounts for 97% of all searches, or 93% of all searches. And that's regular Google search, Google image search, and YouTube.
Yeah.
And when you combine those 3, that's 93% of all searches done on the web. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
And if you're going to expect to show up in those search results, um, you got to do it. And most businesses tend to be local businesses, and that's as Paul's mentioned, and I'm sure you've talked about it before too. It's a different algorithm that's triggered when you're dealing with local businesses, when, you know, based on the search behaviors and the search phrase that somebody types in. So yeah, it's absolutely huge.
And can I just add one thing? I meant to include this, but I rambled on. The one thing I want to impress upon people is that when we're working with clients, regardless of where they are in search engines at the beginning of working with us, but when we introduce a systematic approach to marketing in their business that has a very strong SEO focus that feeds everything else we're doing for them, like the power of that from a visitor standpoint to their website, and a growth standpoint from conversions that result in more patients, more customers, more clients, is astounding. And it, regardless of if we're spending money on ads for that client, organic always outpaces ads, not only from a volume standpoint, meaning we attract way more people through organic over time because it takes time to grow this beautiful SEO tree. But when it starts to bear fruit, man, that fruit is way bigger than your ad spend, because most people can't spend, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars on ads. So it displaces your spend, which is beautiful. Like it essentially becomes free traffic from your investment you've already put into your marketing. But yeah, like it becomes the number one source of traffic, conversions. And the beautiful thing too is that the return on marketing spend, so your return on your overall marketing spend for SEO, will be so much smaller than it will be for your ad spend. So that's what, when we report for clients, they want to know their return on ad spend, because that's something they can lever up or lever down very easily by spending more money.
Right.
But we also show, hey, here's once we take your return on ad spend and then we add in the organic to that and show you your overall return on marketing, it is incredible to see how that cost per lead shrinks so much more.
Well, and an SEO strategy truly is an investment if it's done right.
Yeah.
You know, because everything you do to address SEO, if you're following SEO best practices, you're not doing any black hat, you know, type of crap out there. It's an investment that is just going to build and amplify over time. I've got to get that word in.
Yeah.
What else? What might it do for you, Ian?
It's a wait. What's your awesome term? A force multiplier.
There you go. All right, Paul. Here's I don't know if this is a myth per se, but I think it's clearly a big point of confusion, and that is that SEO and rankings are the same thing. Kind of dig into that and unpack that a little bit for us, and talk to us about whether they are or aren't the same thing.
Well, you know, kind of goes back to something Ian said, that, you know, Bob tried SEO and it didn't work. Well, maybe that's because Bob hooked up with somebody from India with the free Gmail address that says guaranteed SEO ranking first page, $50 a month. Well, first of all, anytime somebody guarantees first page on Google, that should be a red flag, because you really can't guarantee that. But it goes back to intent. And a lot of these, yeah, they'll get you on the first page, but they'll get you on the first page for something nobody searches for. So if nobody's searching for it, obviously that search term is going to show up first page. But the other thing, I don't know, should I go into search intent and explain what that is a little bit?
Sure.
So there's 4 types of search intent. So the first one is informational intent. That's obvious. People are just looking for information. They're probably not going to convert, at least not on that search. They might down the road, but they're looking for information on a product or service. Maybe they're looking for information on different companies, different businesses, what they do, and maybe they're looking for reviews to see if people trust this business. The second one would be navigational intent, and that's usually they're looking for a specific website or a specific product or service, and they're probably not going to convert either, at least not on that visit. So the third one would be transactional intent, and this is they're looking to buy. This is that bottom of the marketing funnel, as we talk about. And they've done their research and they're looking to buy. And those are the ones that are going to convert. And then there's commercial intent. So again, this is where they're probably in the middle of the funnel. They've done some research and they're not quite ready to buy, but they're narrowing down their options, so to speak. And your SEO, your website, your content, it has to fit all these different phases. And the reason I went into that is because, like Ken said, it may or may not be a myth, but your content on your website has to be relevant to the search. And because there's these 4 different types of intent, you need content for each stage of that, and that guides them from the top of the funnel to the bottom to where they convert. But it's definitely a myth in the sense, because we've all got these emails about we're going to get you on the first page guaranteed, and we can do it for $50 a month. No, they can't. And like I said, yeah, they'll get you on the first page, but they'll get you on the first page for something nobody searches for, which doesn't help you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, here's another tip. Paul, you mentioned it at the very beginning of your discussion there. If you get an email, look at every sender that sends you an email. And if that sender is using a Gmail address representing themselves as a business, don't do business with them.
Or any free, I've seen them come from Yahoo.
Well, Yahoo,
Any free
Hotmail,
email.
If it's not coming from a domain-based email, that's a big signal for you right there that it's a very one-dimensional or pretty contrived service that is probably not worth investing in. So that's an easy way to kind of just quickly tell. Open up the email, look at the sender, see what this email address is that they're sending from. That's a huge clue right there. Another.
Can I jump in, Ken? Just with regard. Okay, thanks, man. Just with regard to the connection between SEO and rankings, I like to think in analogies or word pictures, and I always think it's kind of the equivalent of like an apple tree farmer. So an apple tree farmer is doing all of the work. He buys the seeds, he plants the seed, he waters the seed, he fertilizes the seed, he attaches a rod to hold up the seedling as it's growing, he protects it from the environment. But then as it gets to fruition, that tree gives you fruit, right? And so to me, all of the work that goes into growing that tree is similar to search engine optimization. It's all the work that goes into it, but then the fruit is the ranking, and then the eating of the fruit is the conversions. You get more customers and clients. But it's an imperfect analogy, but I always try to think in like, what's the simplest way to explain this to somebody, because they're tied together, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to get the rankings without the optimization, but it's hard for people to understand sometimes.
But at the same time, you can get rankings without a whole lot of optimization if you pick an obscure, never searched for, phrase that you optimize around. It's just not going to do you any good. So technically, you can rank number one for a phrase, but is it the right phrase? And that's, to your point, Ian, and also, Paul, as you talked about, it's all about the buyer intent and the relevancy of what's going on.
Yeah.
And
it depends on your industry, right? Like there was a time where certain industries were so far behind in SEO that there were powerhouses because they just happened to have a website before anybody else. And that was the one that Google looked at. But then once their competition started to invest, they lost their position, right? So there's very few of those. In fact, I can't even think of one industry that's left like that. Maybe there's a very obscure geographic location where you could have a business and you have no competition and you might not need to invest much. But I bet the people surrounding that location, even miles and miles, 100 miles away, would outrank you sometimes because you haven't put the effort in.
Yeah. I went back to the early days of SEO, and I hope to God this still isn't a prominent thing, but I know it is because we hear it from time to time. And that is, you really need to use your keyword phrases often on each and every page. And, really just kind of, if you don't do it, 6 or 7 or 8 or more times, you don't have a chance to rank. So I asked Jen if she could kind of talk about that. So here's what she had to say.
So using your keyword phrase often on the page. So what's often? So you can use it a couple of times. I think in some of the research I pulled up was 1 to 2% per page per document that you have written out there. But really, if you're doing anything more than that, it's considered keyword stuffing. And it's the type of thing that Google can pick up on. It's also the type of thing that a human can pick up on. You have to remember you're writing and producing your content for a human to get to know, like, and trust your business, your company, your product, and bringing them willingly down the funnel to try and then eventually buy and hopefully repeat buy and then refer your business. So in order to do that, you need to be writing and producing and creating your content for a human, not for an algorithm. And humans certainly know when a phrase is repeated more than once, more than twice, in a way that upsets the flow of the written document. You're going to lose people. You're not going to sound very sophisticated. It's not going to be a pleasure to read. It's not worth doing, and you can get caught for it. So use your keyword phrase 1 to 2 times. You could use it in the headline. You could use it throughout the body. You could use it in a subhead. If you need any kind of help with that, there is one tool that we use. It's called Yoast, rhymes with toast, and it can scan your page or your blog and see how many uses of your keyword there is, and make sure that you're not overdoing it. And then if you've actually underdone it or not done it enough, it will help you give you hints a little bit. It goes, if you haven't used it before, it goes basically like a traffic signal. Like red is a problem, yellow is all right, but getting there, green, get the green lights, and you're good to go. So if that helps you, to get started or to use it all the time, so you understand how you're doing with your keywords on content, I'd suggest you pick up a tool like that. There is a free version and of course a paid version for more support as well. So give that a try. And I have to bust the myth. You should not use your keyword phrase super often on your page or your documents.
So first of all, Yoast is a plugin for WordPress. So if you're using another website platform, you're going to have to find another tool that's similar to Yoast. But it is a great tool. It gives you a great guide, gives you instant feedback. It really can be a beneficial tool. And I like the fact that, Jen is always really good at articulating, that there are really always two audiences for every web page that you create, the humans and the machines, or Google. And you have to write for the humans. And Google, it used to be that Google, in the early, 10 years ago, before the search engines became really sophisticated with their algorithms, you did have to give, a lot of clues to say, use this keyword, here's the keyword. That hasn't been the case for a very long time. So, we all come across websites that were written 10, 12 years ago. They probably were written in that style.
Or 2 years ago.
Or, well, that could be too. I hope that's not as prevalent. But one thing that I do also want to just kind of clarify when Jen was talking is that it is really, so I think she was talking about the usage within the body, the body of the copy that is written on the page. You do need to have consistency in the page title and in the meta description, and maybe the H1 or similar phrases in other header tags for the keyword that you're really caring about trying to get that page to optimize for. But within the body copy itself, you don't want to force it and overuse your keywords. That's where you're going to get into trouble, both from losing readers because they're going to be like, what that doesn't even make sense, and they're going to get distracted, and now you've lost them, and they may just go somewhere else. And the search engines are going to look at that and say, yeah, no. So
yeah, and another thing is Google's algorithm gets more and more sophisticated, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. But the concept of keywords as a standalone thing is kind of going away because they're really looking at themes and concepts, and Google can figure out what a page or a blog post is about from the context itself. I'm not saying that keywords don't matter. They do matter to help you, kind of structure your content. But like I said, Google is really looking at themes and concepts more than keywords as a standalone thing.
So Ian, that's kind of a good segue to you. So Paul's basically saying that we don't need to use keywords anymore. No, I'm not that extreme, but that is a common thing that I think a lot of people float around out there anymore. Do you go along with the idea? Or, do you kind of agree with what Paul's talking about?
No, I actually totally disagree with Paul, and I totally disagree with Jen on some level, because I know I read all the articles, I listen to what Google's pros are talking about as far as how they say keywords don't hold as much weight. And I actually think that's misrepresenting the truth. And here's why. It's true you should not keyword stuff, but you can idea stuff. And I'm not talking about like unnaturally stuffing ideas into your copy. But what Paul said is true, but I think it's also misleading. And here's why. Google's algorithm is getting much smarter, and it is looking at topical ideas and what a blog post or a web page is talking about. But here's the truth. If you're an accountant and you want people to find your accounting page, you're going to have to use the word accountant, accounting different words that represent accounting within your copy. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this, and I kind of rail against this idea and why I say it's misrepresenting is because I've actually won clients' businesses where once we get into their website, we see what they were trying to rank for, and we're like, there was no content on that page related to that keyword, that topic, the idea. And of course, I think if I were to rephrase, because I don't think we actually are that far apart, the three of us or the four of us,
Right.
is that the content on your page has to represent the idea, the higher idea of that keyword. So Google looks at synonyms, they look at topics, they look at ideas. But if you don't introduce that into the page using the words that people are searching for, then you won't get found. Like, it's as simple as that. So that's kind of my soapbox. But no, I think keywords are vital. I think they've just transitioned into, you take your keywords, you build them into a bigger idea of, and make it natural. I think that's the biggest change that Google has done, is it's gone from searching for keywords to searching for the universe or the topical universe of that idea, the thing that people are searching for. So to me, it's still the same thing. It's just, you just have to do it naturally, which you should have always been doing. Keyword stuffing was a fool's play at trying to win a game that, was easily shut down by Google.
I think it's, Paul, I'll give you an answer here, an opportunity to respond here in just a second. Well, go ahead.
Well, I think Ian just said the same thing I did in a different way.
I just want to be really clear, though, because we say that keyword, like I hear it all the time, Paul, in the industry, like, oh, keywords don't matter. Oh, here's another blog article. Here's another news item. Keywords don't matter. Google says keywords don't matter. It's not true.
Well, no, I'm not saying keywords don't matter, and I don't think Google's saying that.
They do, though.
If you write an article about, like, okay, you used accountants, how are you going to write an article about that topic without using that word?
And yet I've seen people do it because they do it so short, and they don't think about what is the search intent of the people looking for it.
Well, I agree with that, but that also goes back to thin content. If you write a 100-word article, you can probably try to write about something and not use any of those keywords. I'm not saying keywords don't matter at all and that you shouldn't use them. I'm saying that Google looks at more than that. And
I agree.
Ken said 10 years ago, keyword stuffing actually worked.
Yeah.
Yep.
It actually did. Now it can get you penalized. So I actually agree with you more than you probably think. But like I said, I'm just saying that Google looks at a lot more than just keywords now. They're looking at topics and content and relevance. And they're also looking at relevance. I don't want to go into the weeds about internal linking here, but they're also looking at relevance between the different articles on your website as well.
Yeah, it's all about relevance.
So here's where I still battle against the thought of keyword. I know we've gotten away from that a little bit, that keywords don't matter. I think we all agree that they do. But here's the thing. How do you do keyword research? How do you research what people are interested in and find out the volume of searches? It's by keywords, because people enter words into Google to find. So to me, it's industry semantics about a term that, it drives me nuts, because I like words to mean something. So
right. I think it's just the legacy of the use of the word keyword, throughout the history of SEO.
And then voice search throws a whole other wrench into the works.
What's that?
So voice search throws a whole other wrench into the works.
Yeah, but
keywords, just words that are spoken that are converted into digits, right? Like to me, it's still the same thing. It's just nuances of the same thing.
It used to be a very literal thing, and a keyword was one of the things that, one of the pieces of metadata that you put into your page on the back end to help tell Google this page is about this. So,
and you still do.
Well, yeah, but most people think that Google doesn't look specifically at that piece of metadata anymore than the same way that it used to. But Ian, I absolutely agree with you. The keyword is the organizing concept about what you are writing about. And if you're writing about something, you ought to be using the words about which you're writing, if I used proper English on that. And so you can't avoid it, but as you guys both mentioned, you got to look at semantically similar keywords. The search engines are smart. They figure it out. You don't want to just repeat and say the same phrase over and over and over again, because that reads really robotically. Dentist in Brantford, Ontario, and every time
so
you
close.
mention
it's Bradford. There is a Brantford, Ontario as well.
But... All right. Well, so who I wasn't necessarily talking about your location. But, I mean, if you read that in the middle of a sentence, if you're looking for a dentist in Bradford, Ontario, and then the next paragraph down, it's like, when you're ready to hire, or when you're ready to schedule your visit with the dentist in Bradford, Ontario, it's really artificial and really obnoxious. So, that's what I think we're all trying to talk about, is you don't write that way anymore. You don't have to force it that way anymore. People who do that, or if you haven't touched the copy on your website for 5 or 10 years or longer, you probably have a lot of that, and it's probably not helping you, and it may even be hurting you. So it's thematically relevance that's the critical thing. And in order to do that, you've got to use the words that make up the keyword.
Remember the day when people would build websites and they'd keyword stuff at the bottom of the page? There'd be like a white bar, and it was actually, you'd highlight it and there would be white text on a white background with the keywords.
Right. Yeah. All of the keywords for the entire site.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And Google will penalize you for that. They can actually pick up on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Paul, here's another myth that we come across a lot, and this one really just breaks my heart, because people are paying good money for this stuff and they're thinking they're getting SEO benefit, and they're not. And that is syndicated content. They think that syndicated content helps with SEO, and by syndicated content, I mean there are these people who produce the same blog post article and share it out to dozens of websites, and it's either automated and syndicated using automation, or there are companies who literally take the same article, copy it and paste it and post it on the website, and they don't change a damn thing, except maybe they do change like the location, or something like that, but everything else is exactly the same. So talk about this idea of syndicated content.
Yeah, like you said, content syndication it's republishing a piece of content. And if done correctly, it doesn't hurt you. It's not going to help your SEO, because there's something Google refers to as the canonical source, or the original source. And if you're republishing a piece of content, you're not the original source. So you're not going to, from a search engine perspective, you're not going to get credit for that. And keep in mind that content syndication is not the same thing as guest blogging. I think there's some confusion there. Some people think they're the same thing and they're not. So if you share a piece of content or republish a piece of content and you give credit back to the original source, Google won't penalize you for that. It's just not really going to help you from an SEO perspective, because Google wants to give credit to the original source of the content. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying don't depend on it from an SEO perspective.
And I would even say, a lot of businesses that we talk to, and it seems like accounting firms and attorneys are, industries where this happens all the time. Um, it's not helping you with SEO. Flat out not helping you with SEO, as Paul explained.
Yeah, it's not helping you with SEO, but it can be beneficial to your client. Like if you're an accountant and someone or a tax attorney, and there's a piece of content out there that talks about something important to your clients, and you republish that on your website, it's beneficial to your clients, but again, it's not going to help you from an SEO perspective.
Right. I mean, those are pretty technical fields. Medical would be another, where there's only, and maybe even legally or due to statute or laws that are on the books, there are only certain ways that you can say certain things. So sure, you've got to do some of that from time to time. Just look at your analytics and see how many people are actually going and reading that content. And as Paul said, look, it could be that it provides value to your website visitors. Just don't expect it to help you get people on your website in the first place and make your website more findable. So it has its place for sure, but justify the investment you're making by looking to see, does anybody ever go visit those pages?
And it might be one of those things that you would be better off putting that into an email newsletter and getting it to your customers or your clients that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other option is you could there's no reason why you can't take great blog articles, like syndicated blog articles, and rewrite them. And why I say that is, Ken, you were talking about how in some industries there's only some, you might even have trademarked things, like in the dental industry you have Invisalign, right, which is one of the top clear aligners. And so a lot of dentists in the same geographic area will have Invisalign on their website, and they'll all be saying similar things. But if you do it in a natural way in which it's fresh copy, that kind of stuff can help you. And you can certainly also take really great blog articles and rewrite them, like have a writer rewrite them. And those can be extremely powerful, right? Because the ideas are all there. It's just you're reshaping the ideas into powerful SEO.
Yeah. The sad thing to me is a lot of people think they're getting SEO when they sign up and they get this content fed to their website, and they think they're free and easy, and it's like, oh, cool. I'm writing a check for, hundreds of bucks a month, but I'm getting this content on my website. And if you think you're getting it for the SEO value,
right,
it's not.
I agree with you 100%.
It's not happening. And unfortunately, that's the number. I mean, that's the number one reason why people tell me that they pay for that stuff. And it's like, it's not giving you SEO value. So another thing that I think there are a lot of myths around, and that's, regarding social media. So I asked Jen a couple of questions. One is that social media just flat out doesn't help with SEO. But the other question I wanted her to address also was a common myth that you can just do social media and not do any SEO. So I wanted to get her thoughts. So here's what she had to say.
So another common myth about SEO: social media doesn't help SEO. Just do social media instead of SEO. Well, before getting into the nitty-gritty on that comes down to the age-old warning about building your castle on rented land. And as much as the social media channels, social media networks are helpful to connect, can expose your product or service to many different people, many different industries, a larger audience than you currently have. At any one time, those platforms can go through changes that you may not agree with, that really impact your ability to promote, that don't fit well with your strategy. And they can do that because they are owned by somebody else. So even if you are a paid user on it, so for example, even if you're doing social media advertising, you're paying for access or to run ads on it, and you fancy yourself a customer there. Unfortunately, and they have proven time and time again that the folks that own those social media channels are in charge and they will do what they want. So with that, for sure, use social media as part of your marketing strategy and part of your marketing execution. But what you always want to be keeping in the back of your mind is, how do I get these people that I am meeting or exposing my company to, how do I get them to come closer to me, back to my owned areas? So how do I get them back onto my email list? How do I get them back onto my website? So they get to know more about my company on my terms, that kind of thing. So, I mean, that's why you would not want to use one over the other. So with that, social media can be great for a lot of different things for sure, but just know that it is rented land and use it as such.
You know, I think it's interesting. Every time I go, and I haven't, done this for a couple of years because of the whole COVID situation, but when you get into a room with, more than a dozen people, maybe a couple dozen people, somebody in there is saying, man, I'm just killing it on social media. That's how I get all my business, yada, yada, yada. And so, they're like, yeah, you don't need to be paying for SEO. You need to do this. You don't need to do that. We've all come across those people. If you network in any event, you're going to run across people. That is absolutely the exception rather than the norm. And it is, as Jen said, you're building your house on rented land. So if that was your strategy on Facebook 2 years ago or 4 years ago, you were probably getting really good results. Today, you may not be getting those same results because Google doesn't give priority to the page's content. And if you're doing it as an individual, it's really not in the spirit of what you're supposed to be doing on Facebook. You're not supposed to be selling through your personal profile on Facebook. And I know people do it. You might get some benefit. Obviously, you want to amplify what you're doing through your personal profile because you've got a lot of completely different connections. But I think social, is seen as absolutely an alternative to doing search engine optimization. We're all huge fans of omnichannel, and we all know, and we see this all the time, the importance of getting people off of social and onto your website. And there is an SEO benefit to that. And you have to do that by design. You've got dwell times. If you're getting people to come read a blog post and they're spending time on your website and they're clicking through to other pages because you caught them while they were on social media and that's how you got their attention, then it is, important and has a lot of interplay with SEO. So I think social has, and SEO should be intertwined.
Yeah. Yeah.
TikTok. All you need is TikTok.
The one thing I do see that does work on social, it not to replace SEO at all. In fact, the people that I see doing it well are usually people already investing in SEO, but is generating enough goodwill with people that they're getting referrals through social media, the social media channels. So you're just, part of that is your overall marketing strategy. Part of it is sharing content of value, which is an SEO strategy anyways, because usually the content you share is SEO optimized content from your website, right? So I think they can go hand in hand, but I would never see social replacing SEO, because one is a qualified searcher buyer, which is SEO, because they're searching for you. They came to your webpage because you rank for that. And the other is very interruptive. You have no control really over what's happening there unless you do paid ads. And then now we're getting into the paid discussion rather than organic social.
And actually, it's a hell of a lot of work. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to do networking, you have to join local groups, you have to be parts of conversations, you know, you got to be posting interesting, share-worthy content and comment-worthy content. That just doesn't happen. It takes a lot of work. And there are people who I think are just natively really good at SEO.
Mm.
I'm sorry, at social media,
Social.
but it still takes a lot of work, even if a lot of people make it, not a lot of people, but some of the people make it look pretty easy and seamless.
Yeah.
So Ian, that does kind of lead to another question here that I wanted to ask you, another myth that I'm starting to hear a lot from a lot of marketing companies, and that's that SEO is just not as important as it used to be. You got TikTok that's come onto the scene. It's taking up, and it is now the site that people spend the most time on. Um, Google is doing things to where you can't even see the organic search results because it's putting ads at the top, and then it's putting Google Maps at the top, which is fed by your Google Business Profile. And then you have to scroll to even be able to see organic. And then when you see the organic, you got an article from some industry related aggregator. It could be Yelp across the board. It could be a specific industry player like avo.com or Angie or something like that, where they write a top 10 list. So a lot of people have become really, I mean, their flippant answer is SEO is just not important as it used to be. What are your thoughts on that?
Lies. Let me be clear, people. That is a lie. And here's why I know that. Because we have a lot. Oh, absolutely. We have enough clients that we're looking at the data every day, every week, every month. We're reporting on it. Paid advertising. So just to lump them into two easy buckets for people to understand. Paid advertising is getting more and more expensive. It's really well documented. In fact, after COVID, a lot of people jumped on the digital marketing bandwagon, and the quickest, easiest way to do that is to pay for advertising. A lot of industries are now seeing cost per clicks going up pretty dramatically. We see it with our clients. Does it still work? Of course it still works. On the organic bucket, I like to make it very simple for people to understand it. That's everything organic, and SEO is intertwined with everything organic. So meaning your Google My Business, your directory profiles. I would even say some of your social media organic is related to SEO if you're using the content you produce for search engine optimization within those channels. So to me, the proof is in the data, and the data is showing the lion's share of good quality traffic and conversions, and the cost per conversion being much lower than paid options goes to organic. So if you can get search engine optimization running well for your business, you rank better on search engines, you show up more on Google My Business, you're in directories, you're using the content well throughout your different channels, the omni channels, you are going to see much better return on investment. And ultimately, that's what it's all about. That's you're in business to get more customers, clients, and patients. And the cost per acquisition, you need to have your finger on the pulse of that, and it needs to be getting lower, not higher. So I think that's where SEO works when done properly, when you hire legit, good quality people, agencies to support you, and who are providing real reporting on the results of what's happening. And I stress that because I can't tell you the number of clients I've taken over the accounts for where they show me the reports they were getting from their past agencies, and they were horrible. They were what you guys were talking about earlier, where they were ranking number one in Google for keywords that didn't matter to anybody. The search volume was so low, or the intent to buy was so low, they didn't matter, right? So SEO is absolutely important, and I think it's growing in importance because the costs for other things are growing as well.
We all approach SEO, I mean, it's just simply a part of an integrated marketing strategy. Like you said, it's omni-channel, it's consistency across messaging and platforms, all driven by good, solid content, well thought out, organized, planned, monitored, optimized. I mean,
keyword research driven,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So I mean, it doesn't just happen by chance, and um, so I mean, hopefully this has been helpful for everybody. I know we talked about a lot of different things. You guys have any other points you want to make?
I feel better. Thanks for letting me get it off my chest here. So
You're welcome. Paul, you good?
Yeah, I guess the only other thing I'd say is that a lot of the SEO myths are kind of grounded in things that used to be true, like keyword stuffing. It used to work, doesn't work anymore. 10 years ago, Google had a problem if you had an accordion, or tabbed content. Google had a problem picking up on that. Now they don't. So I think a lot of these myths come from outdated knowledge.
Yeah, and hopefully, we've talked about this enough throughout this broadcast. SEO is not this one-dimensional thing. It's not just doing on-page SEO. I mean, it's integrating into the entire ecosystem of the web and doing that with the highest relevancy that's aligned with the searcher's intent. And when you can do that and execute on that, you're going to see really strong results.
give the people what they want, people.
All right, Ian, take us out.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. And like us, share us, and then, of course, keep calm and mark it on.